I'd like to call the December 3rd, 2019 work session of the Borough of Maywood Council to order.
Would everyone please rise and join me in saluting our nation's flag? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
On January 3rd, 2019, adequate notice of this meeting pursuant to the Open Publics Meeting Act has been furnished by inclusion thereof in the annual schedule of meetings for 2019, which has been posted on the bulletin boards of Borough Hall, filed with the Borough Clerk, faxed to our town, the Record, and the Community News newspaper, and distributed to all persons, if any, requesting copies of same pursuant to said act. In case of an emergency or fire alarm, you must evacuate the building by using any of the exit doors in the room. They are immediately to my right in the double doors in the rear of the room. Occupants must exit the building by using the staircase and not the elevator. This meeting is being recorded by both audio and video and may be rebroadcasted.
Roll call.
On roll call, Mayor Cabray.
Here.
Councilmembers Bennett.
Here.
Bowen.
Here.
Ullman.
Here.
Trevino is absent. Lindenau.
Present.
Garofalo.
Here.
Borough Attorney Brian E. Ironman.
Here.
Borough Administrator Roberta Stern.
Here. Borough
Clerk Barbara Gispoto. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Mr. Bliniak, could you come up and give us your monthly review?
Honorable Mayor and Council, we issued an engineer's report dated November 26th. I'll briefly go through each of the individual topics. The first is the Streetscape Phase 2 project. Again, that project's completed other than the installation of the light posts and lamps, which is completed by PSD&G themselves. We anticipate that occurring over the next month and a half. The next two items on the list I'll address at the same time. It's the year 2019 road improvement program, which included Park Romaine, Edgewood Place, Spring Valley Road and Spring Valley Avenue, and then also Gulf Avenue from Romaine to East Passaic. In late November, those projects were substantially completed. There are minor punch list items that need to be addressed. In addition, we don't intend to close the project out until the spring, until the green belts take root, and at that time, if they need to be reseeded, they would be reseeded so that they're aesthetically pleasing. The next item on the list, which isn't listed, but I'd like to discuss, is the year 2020 DOT grant. The borough had received $200,000 for a grant that I had filed for municipal aid, which is for the remainder of Palmer, and then also the signage at the bus stop that the governing body wanted to see, which would permit a warning for those crossing Passaic. That concluded my report. I'd be glad to address any questions or comments that the governing body had, though.
Any questions for the engineer? Greg, do you wouldn't mind sticking around?
I'd be glad to.
Thank you. All right, at this point, I'd like to open the meeting to the public. Is there anyone from the public wishing to be heard?
Don't get up, Joey. I didn't anticipate, Tom Richards, 347 Gulf Avenue. I didn't anticipate being here tonight. But since I'm here, I'd like to thank both Commissioner Lindenau and the Mayor for the time that they've given to this borough. Very few people understand what it takes, I do, to be the Mayor, to be a councilman, and the time that you devote to this community. And I personally thank you, okay? We will all live with that title over the rest of our lives. Some will scorn us, some will laugh at us, some will have fun with. But the title of being mayor is a great thing, and councilman, the honorable, is always a great thing. And I thank you for your time and for what you've given to this community. And for the rest of you guys, okay, him I've known most of his life, so I know what he's given and I know what he can give, and I thank you all. And Mayor-elect, you've got some deep shoes to fill. There's some great people who've served here before you. Certainly not me, maybe him. But the simple fact of the matter is, you're going to do a great job. You need the support of your people. Always do the right thing. Always think of what's best for this community. Thank you. God bless you. Have a wonderful year. And thank you for your service.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Very kind. Anyone else from the public should be heard? Okay. Close the meeting to the public. At this point, public hearing pending ordinances, adoption of same.
Ordinance 22-19, an ordinance to amend Chapter 127 entitled Bingo and Raffles of the Borough of Maywood Code in the Borough of Maywood, State of New Jersey.
At this time, I'd like to open the meeting to the public for any comments relative to the foregoing ordinance. Seeing none, I'll take a motion for the adoption. So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call.
On roll call, Bennett,
Yes.
Bowen,
Yes.
Coleman,
Yes.
Lindenau,
Yes.
Garofalo.
Yes.
Motion carries. Be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Maywood that ordinance 22-19 be and is hereby passed upon second and final reading, and that the Borough Clerk is hereby authorized and directed to advertise the same according to law.
Presentation of bills and claims and request for public comment. The clerk presented the bill resolution. If anyone from the public wishes to be heard with regard to the bills. Seeing none, I'll take the motion for the approval.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call.
On roll call, Bennett,
Yes.
Bowen,
Yes.
Coleman,
Yes.
Lindenau,
Yes.
Garofalo.
Yes.
Sorry, motion carries.
Need a break? Do you want to rest for a second?
I'm tongue-tied
All
already.
right.
Correspondence and report of the Borough Clerk.
Okay, so under correspondence, I recently forwarded a letter regarding 200 Route 17 LLC to the council, in which a request has been made for a meeting to discuss possible zone modifications. This request is in association with an item that has gone before the planning board, so I'm looking for some direction on the council. So some options would be, do you want me to extend the invitation to this gentleman to come before the board and speak to you as a whole? Do you want to set up a committee of not more than 3 council people? Or do you want to push this to the new year where it would be heard by heard by more people who are in the position that will be approving or disapproving?
I think the third option is the better one. I mean, that's just me speaking.
Right.
Obviously, the council.
Can I-
makes the decision.
I do have one comment, if I could. I understand that one of the objectors filed suit against the planning board. My opinion would be, well, that's still active. I don't know whether they've withdrawn that, because they didn't get the approval from
The
Rush.
Rush Park didn't get it approved, so the suit filed against both parties.
But my concern is that if the objector is suing us over a development that was part of this parcel, shouldn't we wait until that?
That should play out before we get the vote.
Well, by getting involved, I mean, does it ever hurt our position to listen to somebody?
I'm going to reserve any comments or questions for close.
Makes sense.
We're in the middle of litigation.
There you go.
Could we discuss it in closed?
We'll
just
we should
briefly?
discuss it in
Okay.
close.
We'll
Yeah.
get your answer. Good point, Rich.
All right. I also forwarded a copy of the NJDOT award letter to everyone, where the borough was approved for a $200,000 grant for Palmer Avenue and the Palmer Avenue bus stop signage. And I've received the brochures for the 2020 orientation for municipal officials, so I will forward that all to members of the council for the 2020 mayor and council. Let's see. Also, I wanted to advise everybody that RFQs for borough professionals have been posted on our websites and are to be submitted by my office no later than 10 a.m. on December 10th. Later that day, I will comprise a list of what RFQs were received and distribute that to the council for their review. Also, bids were accepted today for the senior bus. We received 3 bids, in which the 2 lowest bids had only a difference of approximately $600. I've given the bid package to our attorney for his review, and we should be awarding the bid in the near future. And final, the rabies clinic has been scheduled for January 8th from 7 to 9, and my office will be in attendance to issue 2020 dog and cat licenses. And that finishes out my report.
I have a question about the senior bus, Barbara.
Yes,
Are there seatbelts?
I believe seatbelts are in the bid specs, yes.
The push button.
Great.
Good?
I'm good.
Okay. Vince, Energy Department?
Few things. One of them has to do with some of the seminars that I attended at the League, and I know a little bit later on, Councilwoman Benetton is going to be talking about one of the recycling, some of that, but obviously, right now, Trenton seems to be stalled on the plastic bag legislation, and we're not sure exactly. They're kind of waiting for towns to make their decisions, and then I think they'll follow. Right now, they're not taking any action. We also do know that there's going to be, it was in the e-newsletter, there is a styrofoam collection coming up. One of the things that was brought up at this seminar is the fact that styrofoam and actually cooking oils are one of the biggest problems that we have right now for recycling. And contamination is making recycling less economical for everyone. So that's something that we're going to have to look at. We have a resolution on tonight for the energy audits, and that was something else that was brought up at one of the seminars. One of the suggestions was that a letter be sent from the mayor to each household, so explaining a little bit better about what this is and letting people know what their options are. I thought that was a very good idea, and perhaps we could find someone to subsidize that mailing, which is what was done in another town, and I think that it makes sense and puts people at ease to understand a little bit more about what this energy audit means, and that they're not obligated, but that it is something that the town is encouraging. The COA seminar was very interesting. It didn't offer much more than we already knew. I think that we're pretty much on the right path with the professionals that we've been using, and I think one of the only things that came up that I have to talk to them about is a methodology for developing the median incomes. Apparently, or it didn't seem to me that everybody was in agreement that the ones that we have from the state are the incomes that we should be going with. So it's something that we'll be looking at as we get further into the process. On a happier note, I wanted to thank everyone who did come by for the tree lighting. I think it was very lovely and a lot of fun, and I wanted to thank Annetta D'Amico from Pleasant Avenue Dental for allowing us to use her property for the snow globe, and also for being nice enough to hand out hand warmers, hot coffee, and cookies. I know I used the hand warmers, so they were a big hit. I'm sorry? You did, yes, we did chat about that. We also just completed a successful auction once again. The town, after we get the second check, will have collected a little over $21,000 for equipment that was no longer usable, had been taking up space. Included in that was some items that had been, we had gotten from the police department, from their evidence room, that they were allowed to release at this time. So we did a lot of cleanup. And then I have two items in closed session, Mayor.
Thank you, Roberta. Committee reports, Councilperson Denton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to start off by saying thank you, Roberta, for our holiday kickoff. It was great. It was a good time. Snow Blue, I think, was a hit. So there was a lot of snow in there. It was a little confusing for some people. But it was a great hit. And so thank you, everyone, for coming out. I also want to extend a thank you to our DPW superintendent and the DPW for a job well done these past couple of days, getting out there, salting, and making sure the roads were clean for us to drive safely. With that, part of what the Borough Administrator was talking about was an initiative that she went to, or should say learned about in the League, and one thing that we are looking at through the DPW and with the amazing staff on the third floor is getting out some information and education about recycling, because the biggest issues are, in fact, contamination and what's going out that shouldn't be put out with recycling, and what should be put out, and how to properly put that out. Removing labels, nothing that should be clean. And so we're trying to work on something for Maywood that will go out to educate everyone about what is acceptable, what's not acceptable, and move forward from there, hopefully as a council with a plan to help educate and get everyone on board with something that is obviously good for the environment, but also a concern as a town, because as we move forward, the rejection of recycling as waste could, at some point, affect our tonnage and what we pay for garbage. There's a potential for that. So certainly something that we want to look into and be mindful of. So certainly that should hopefully be coming out maybe next couple weeks. We should have something put together, if not by the new year, some new information for everyone. The other thing I would definitely say is remember in regards to the snow that sidewalks need to be cleared. I know I'm out there shoveling mine very diligently. My neighbor, who's so kind, he actually uses a snow blower. Yeah. From the building department, a couple of things that are going on downtown. As you've noticed, the bakery, or the old bakery, is progressing and being updated, so hopefully we'll see some more soon. Downtown, obviously the pizza place, and they're doing a wonderful job. That whole storefront is great. We have a new gift shop that's going to be opening soon, Little Locust. That's at 98 West Pleasant. And then this Saturday, Mind, Body, and Soul is going to be having their grand opening. So a nice couple of additions downtown. Very excited to see. And of course, it's the Belly Bones and all these great new places opening up. It's really nice. And one last reminder from the building department. One of our ordinances, which is ordinance 20930, which talks about certificates of occupancy. A lot of people don't realize that especially if they're renters and tenancy or changing ownership, that you have to get a certificate of occupancy. So the building department wants to remind everyone that that needs to happen each time occupancy changes. And I think that is it for my report. Thanks.
Thank you, Catherine. Councilperson Bowling.
Just a few quick items. I want to agree with Catherine. I think the DPW did a great job with the snow. I know all the houses, all the streets in the areas that I go were cleaned very early, and everything looked really good. I also want to commend the decorations really were beautiful, and the evening of the tree lighting really looked spectacular. It looked very festive, and I particularly enjoyed it. The two items that I have is that we went to the schools the day before Thanksgiving and filled the time capsules with letters from the students there and pictures. And so they filled out a little flyer about what they're doing now and a little note to themselves in the future. And most of them put a picture on there. It was really well received, and after the event, and we went to both schools. We went to Maywood Avenue, we went to Memorial. And after it was done, we were about to take the time capsule back. People had actually stopped and said, "Look, I have more children at home who don't go to school. Can I add something to it?" And so I'm suggesting that I always told them yes, but if people in the audience, if you have somebody who lives in town who might not have done it in the school, please put a note to yourself, and we'll include it in that time capsule. But it was really a great time, and I thank Mr. Jordan and the schools for hosting it. The second thing is that the American Legion on December the 7th will be holding a ceremony remembering the attack on Pearl Harbor. That will be at 11 o'clock, and the public is invited to attend. During my service, I actually was stationed at Hickam Field, and when you go through some of the buildings there, they never repaired the bullet holes from the attack. So you might be walking on a stairwell, an outside stairwell, and you're actually walking over holes that were placed there during that battle. So it's a piece of history, and certainly for me being stationed there, it's something that I'm always willing to participate in. So I hope to see more people. I hope to see some people there at 11 o'clock. And Mr. Mayor, that's all I have today.
Thanks, Rich. Next person, Holman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A few things. Green Team, we're kind of on a little hiatus with the garden as we have entered the winter months. Still some cleaning up to do that I will get done on behalf of the council. And we are looking at possibly applying for the Community Tree Recovery Program through the Arbor Day Foundation. That was something we did a few years ago with the seedlings, and we had an event in conjunction with our spring cleanup event. So more to come on that. As far as recycling, on December 7th, also for Arbor Day, there will be a town-wide shred event, and that will be taking place in front of the school, Maywood Ave School, from 9 to 1. And 2 items from the Board of Ed, TREP program. I know many people were here. That was phenomenal success. To anybody who attended knows there's not enough good things I could say, or any of us could say about what an incredible program that is, and just still in its infancy, in its second year. So it was really amazing to see so many participants and so many vendors and people attending. It was nice. And secondly, and most importantly, we are nearing the end of the public comment phase of the send receive relationship with Hackensack and the possible potential move to Beckton that was decided upon for our feasibility study and adopted by the Board of Education. You only have a little over a week left. Within 2 weeks, I would definitely encourage anybody who hasn't to consider submitting a letter, regardless of whether one agrees or disagrees with the move. Certainly, I think we can all support the hard work that the Board of Ed has done on this over the course of the past 2 years. Those letters could be submitted. I can get them myself to Superintendent Jordan or Board of Ed liaison Frank Salento. I don't know if you want to identify himself. I think everybody knows who Frank is. But if you'd like to get me the letter, I can definitely get it to Frank, and I can get it to Mr. Jordan. But I would definitely encourage everybody to strongly consider, not just everybody here on the dais, but anybody in town, because this is, I think, one of the most meaningful things that impact the heart and soul of the community that we've had in the past several years. So I really would encourage everybody to take a close look, and by all means, please reach out if you need any information. Yes.
Am I right in my understanding that Hackensack has decided they will not challenge this in court? Whatever the decision is, they'll...
Yes. That's correct. That's correct. Some of the elected officials in some of the other towns that are going to be impacted, and some local elected officials or county-wide elected officials, I believe, have already written for their opinion. So I would encourage everybody here to do the same if you feel so moved. That's it. I'll get off the soapbox, and Patty, please, I don't know if you can, and just encourage in reporting, for residents, please get involved, regardless of how they feel about it.
Is the only way to submit a letter to get it to the board, or is there a direct address to send it to?
There is a direct Commissioner Ricolette. I can forward that to the board. However, I know that the Board of Ed is putting their own package of letters and things together to deliver as a group, but you could certainly reach out individually.
Right, someone couldn't get to you.
Yes, that's how I chose to do it myself.
I'm not sure how the council feels, but I know the other 2 towns involved in the send and receive all wrote letters of support as a council, the entire council. I don't know if this council would like to do that, but if you would be willing to do that, we have an outline from Mr. Jordan, and I'm fine with doing that if you guys want to do it. Otherwise, I plan on sending a letter otherwise, but I would like to send, if you guys want to do it as a group, we can do it as a group instead. I know Ryan, you already sent one, correct?
Yeah.
Sorry, you can put your name on it. You're allowed to. But if you guys want to do that, that's fine. I would say this, if we don't want to do it, let's just leave it at that. I don't need to have reasons why, because I don't want to affect anything that may or may not happen. I don't want this council to affect negatively. Positive is fine, but negatively, I don't want to do anything like that. So, if it's something you guys want to discuss in closed, when we do go into closed, because quite frankly, anything negative could affect financially this town, so that would be a reason to have that closed. But other than that, it's just, I'm putting it out there. I know I myself otherwise will write one, and I think some of the other council people, you already have, some of the other council people probably write it anyway, so. Whatever you guys want to do, just throwing it out there. Ryan?
That's it. Sorry.
No, also.
You just put you.
No, Mr. President, that's fine. You're ready. Thanks, Ryan. Councilman Linden.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All I have tonight is if you are interested in your, I guess this is just for kids, if you're interested in learning to play ice hockey, the Spartans Hockey Club is having a development program for beginners and experienced players at Fritz Dietl in Westwood. December 1st, 8th, 15th, January 5th, 12th, 19th, 26th, and February 2, 9, and 16. They have 2 different times, from 6 to 7 for beginners, from 7 to 8 for experienced skaters. Which one you'll go, I'm sure.
No, I go at 6 to 7 with my son.
Okay. There will be mandatory equipment, skates, helmet, gloves, elbow pads, knee pads, and a stick. There is loaner equipment available, but in limited quantities. For more information or to register, contact info@spartanshockeyclub.com. They are also on the web at spartanshockeyclub.com. That's all I have.
Thanks, Tom.
Go learn hockey.
Council President Garofalo.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I actually will be coaching at 6 o'clock on those Sundays, so if folks do want to learn hockey, they can come learn hockey.
Is that for all ages?
However much I might be able to teach you. What's that?
Is it all ages or is it?
It is all ages. Mostly, well, my son's 4, but mostly
He's skating around the floor.
up to about 8 or 9 is usually, but then there are older children as well, and grown-ups if you want to come. Just you need to have equipment. Hockey's is a little bit dangerous. Okay, so a couple things. One, I want to again talk about the tree lighting, which was fantastic. I also thought it was really nice of the Padavanos to decorate the tree, and it looked absolutely beautiful, and was also fitting, Adrian, that you and Greg got to turn the lights on for the tree, so that was really, really nice, and the kids loved that reindeer. Was that the antlers are a little ridiculous on that. That thing's only 4 years old. That Thunder is his name. Does anybody know his parents? No? You didn't get that?
Lightning in?
No, it was Donner and Blitzen. Anyway, for more, so the Fire Police will be holding their 76th annual, well, not theirs, but it is the 76th annual Santacade. That'll be Tuesday, December 24th, starting at 3 o'clock at Elman Grove, and concluding at 6:10 at Golf at Harwich. The full schedule can be found on the Maywood website as well. Finally, some information on TANIC. The official environmental assessment is basically the FAA has initiated the preparation of an environmental assessment. If that's not the most governmental thing I've ever heard, but basically it's the beginning to the end of this process of changing the route from where it currently is directly over Mr. Brown's house, who's not here today, to a little bit further west on Route 17. So that is under planning, and I'll be going to the next TANIC meeting, or one of my colleagues perhaps will go to the next TANIC meeting in the first quarter of 2020.
And other than that, that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Matt. I just want to remind everybody that, yes, the fire police are doing the Santa cage for the last 2 years they have, but for 74, the prior 74, that was done by our ambulance squad volunteers. And I know you know that, but I just wanted everybody else to know that. To piggyback on what Catherine said, not only are you pleased to do your, during snow events, to do your sidewalks, but also make sure that during a snow event, your cars are off the street. This way we can plow. We don't have to plow around them. And please, as well, you have to have your hydrants shoveled. If you have a hydrant by your house, please shovel it. That makes it very easy for the fire department to get there in case of an emergency by your house. Otherwise, we have to spend time digging those things out, and many times they are frozen solid, and you don't want that. So please follow the ordinance, and you have, I'm not exactly sure how many hours it is within a snow event, but right.
Snow the next day.
Yeah, so please keep that in mind. The decorations on the avenue, the lighting, once again, our Christmas person, our special Billy, took care of that. And he must have some kind of aura around him that prevents him from getting hit by cars. I don't know how. He's in the middle of the road and they just bounce off his aura and direct around him. I don't know how he's not hit, but he has not been hit, and thank God, and hopefully he's never hit again, never hit in the future. But he does a wonderful job. He does it from his heart, and this is his mission. Well, he decorates the town through the holidays, and he makes this town festive. Let's put it that way. And we all appreciate everything he does. Roberta, the job you have done every year this Christmas, and also with the fall festival and with all the other things that we do, the fireworks, but every year you knock yourself out, you top it. This is probably a $10,000 event, and if not more, and you get it done by donations every single year, all the events. This is a great one, and that globe was a great idea. Good job. Hopefully you keep doing that. We'll keep coming up with better things. Great job. The antlers on that reindeer, did you know that they all come off? And that stuff comes up within a year. It's less than a year.
1 year, yeah, 1 year.
Unbelievable.
It's crazy.
You didn't get the joke. He said, thunder. He said, what are his parents? Lightning and thunder. You didn't get that?
No, I got it.
You got it. You just think it was fun? Thanks, Tom. That's the important member of yours. Thank you, buddy.
Oh, now I get it.
Oh, now you get it.
Thanks.
All right, I only have, I think I do have something to add in close, but that would be under, I think, personnel. So other than that, let's move forward, see where we are here. Thank you. Appreciate that. We have no action items. We have a resignation acceptance. Number 1, Sergeant Glenn Tuchek submitted his resignation retirement letter from the police department with Borough of Maywood effective February 1st, 2020. Is there a motion to regrettably accept the resignation retirement?
So made.
Is there a second?
Exactly, yes.
Roll call.
On roll call, Bennett?
Yes.
Follen?
Yes.
Ullman? Lindenau?
Yes.
Garofalo?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Glenn has served this community, his whole term of service, faithfully, and as a gentleman. He's part of the reason why this department, as I've said time and time again, is one of the best in the state, certainly in the county. Resolutions by title, please.
Resolution 209-19, transfer of funds. Resolution 210-19, resolution calling for the study commission to review the Open Publics Record Act. Resolution 211-19, resolution for renewal of membership of the South Borough Municipal Joint Insurance Fund. Resolution 212-19, Resolution authorizing an agreement between the County of Bergen and the Borough of Maywood for the providing of a municipal humane law enforcement officer services for the Borough of Maywood. Resolution 213-19, resolution urging the legislature and governor to enact a law banning single-use plastic and paper bags. Resolution 214-19, resolution authorizing the clothing allowance to members of the Maywood Volunteer Fire Police and Fire Department. Resolution number 215-19, resolution authorizing Seal Power LLC as the borough contractor to perform home energy assessments. And Resolution 216-19, resolution approving the remuneration for unused vacation time for Chief of Police Joseph Natal.
Is there a first? Is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion.
Discussion.
Does somebody else have something? No. Regarding 21319, the single-use plastic and paper bag, as Roberta said, I don't know that the state legislature will have the gall, the chutzpah, gumption, thank you, to pass something.
Yeah.
There have been 100 towns, Summit became the 100th town to pass a plastic bag resolution ban. I do think that perhaps, we can obviously still vote on this, but we should also think about something for either the next meeting or beyond that, to actually think about a plastic bag ban within Maywood. Wasn't really discussion of what is it. Point of information.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, please.
Sorry. So, Resolution 21519 about the home energy assessment. Just kind of looking at the wording on the bottom, to me, it's a bit confusing. At the very end, where it says the Mayor and Council of the State of New Jersey is hereby authorized and directed to execute any and all documents necessary to appoint them as the Borough of Maywood professional to provide home energy assessment. Just a, I guess, point of clarification, are we going to send out something, as Mr. Stern said, or explaining exactly what these are? Because in a way, to me, not having the background, it almost seems as if Maywood itself is providing for this service. Where obviously, as we discussed, this is a service that we are saying this is a vendor essentially to use that's approved by the town at a cost obviously to the homeowner. So I just worried that it would be confusing if we still pass the resolution as is, provided that we send out some kind of clarification and that it should ultimately be the homeowner's responsibility for that nominal getting $45.
Well, one of the other things is that they even though we are adopting this because we did the RFQ, et cetera, people can use other people, and it's incumbent upon them, the people we're talking about, to notify the public. So I think if they're smart and they want to do business, they're going to be doing it. I still think that the letter from the mayor, maybe early January, would be a good thing for, to go out for clarification. But it's going to be incumbent upon this vendor to explain themselves and make it clear. We're going to get calls in the Borough Hall, there's no question. People are going, people call us up about the Suez, the home serve, and I'm sure we'll get letters about this as well. That we're not mandating it. It's a
right. So I worry that
right.
we'll see it perhaps as a mandate or that they won't understand. But I think that
right, because I don't think, for the most part, people will not know about this resolution. We're adopting it, naming them, but it's certainly up to them to go out and get the business. It's nothing that we're, forcing upon them. Right, and I don't think that by adopting this tonight, I don't think that part would confuse residents, because for the most part, most of them aren't going to even know about it.
Yes.
Well, is that a yes that we're going to
I think that's something you could decide, and I'm going to try and find somebody to underwrite the cost of the mailing. And there are a couple of ways... Well, there are a couple of cheaper ways of doing the mailing, too, that were discussed, and one of them is a general, talk to my post office person. We can do it by carrier route, and which is a cheaper way, and they don't tend to bundle and throw them out. So it is a cheaper way to do this kind of mailing in the town, but I still would like to see if I could find somebody to underwrite the cost. If we can't, then it's up to us to do it, you know.
Just an amendment to the resolution, just taking from the last sentence, seal power of Kearny, New Jersey. As the borough may with professional provide homeowners energy assistance to the borough homeowners at the cost and terms contained within their response to the article. Is that clarified?
Yeah.
I think so.
So with the amendment?
Good. Is there a reason this company couldn't underwrite the cost of the mayor's letter?
I was thinking
I-
the same thing, but it may
I-
also look a little fuzzy, no?
And at the session that I attended, it was done by someone else. It wasn't done by that particular, it was, if I remember correctly, they actually had one of the utilities in their case, and I could speak to that, the person who presented it from their town and see, but to me, that's like a legal thing, you know, can the same person pay for the letter? Does that look
Right.
like it's a little confusing?
How much are we looking at for a full mailing?
I don't know, I didn't get those costs. I could have that number for you at the next meeting.
It really depends on how you're going to send it. If you're going to send it through the mail with every door direct, it's a little cheaper. It'll go by every mailbox.
Right, as I said, the carrier route, doing it by carrier route is the cheapest way.
When do the tax bills go up?
Uh,
The only, I pay mine gas stuff, so I don't know. That's why
Yeah, no,
legitimately-
I don't either, because mine's in my,
So maybe we could
I-
find that letter with the tax bills, and they can go out with the tax bills and... we don't
but a
pay.
lot of times, the people living in the house are not the people who get the tax
Yeah,
bill.
but you know what? There's going to be a lot of times where the post office guy is going to fill the letter and things.
I mean, we could look at any of the alternatives. Right, I would like to look at the alternatives and present them to you. You decide which way you want to go.
Yeah. I think the cheapest, that's the cheapest way to get it in the tax bill, to just put it in the same envelope.
We'll work on the letter
You guys
then.
work on it. I'm sorry?
They're gonna do their own stuff.
Yeah, they'll do
but
it.
That's why I don't think we should be asking the company that's gonna do these assessments to be paying for this. It
Right,
looks a
that's-
little bit
Right.
not right. Well,
Well, I mean, the letter is only to,
The letter is to wash our hands, basically.
well, no, and it's
Not us
also,
doing it.
no, but it's also...
We recommend it inform.
Right, no, but the letter is to explain to residents the purpose and the fact that you're not obligated to do this.
Right.
That's all. It's a clarification letter from the governing body to homeowners. That's the entire purpose of the letter. I mean, when he presented it at the session, it seemed like a good idea to me.
I think it is a good idea. Have it sent out. It's not a crazy number, we send it out.
Right.
I know we sent a couple things to the tax bills in the past, and it basically was just the cost of printing up the paper
Right.
that it was written on. Other than that,
Which we could do in-house, basically.
yes. So, with that, I think we are ready for a vote on the resolutions unless there's any further discussion.
Did we actually amend the
Yes.
resolution?
So it's going to be, just for the record, 2000, I'm sorry,
We vote, we...
We didn't vote yet, but we'll accept the vote with
with the accepted amendment.
So, there's a second, a motion and a second. We have a roll call.
Bennett?
Yes.
Boland?
Yes.
Coleman?
Yes.
Lindenau?
Yes.
Carafala?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, I think,
Instruction.
sorry. Ordinance, introduction of ordinance.
Ordinance 23-19, an ordinance revising Chapter 305 of the Borough Code governing towing within the borough. Ordinance 24-19, an ordinance to amend Chapter 52 entitled Personnel Policies of the Borough of Maywood Code in the Borough of Maywood, State of New Jersey.
Is there a motion for the introduction?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call.
On roll call, Bennett,
Yes.
Boland,
Yes.
Almond,
Yes.
Lindenau,
Yes.
Garafalo.
Yes.
Motion carries. Be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Maywood that ordinance 23-19 and 24-19 pass on first reading, and that said ordinances will be further considered for final passage at a meeting of the Mayor and Council to be held on December 17, 2019 at 7:30 p.m. at Borough Hall, 15 Park Avenue, Maywood, New Jersey, at which time and place all persons interested therein will be given the opportunity to be heard concerning the same, and that the Borough Clerk is hereby authorized and directed to advertise the same according to law.
Thanks, Barb. Do we have any new business to discuss? Anything? Okay, we have under old business, we have two things on here, but that doesn't limit us to that, just these two things. But first thing is the discussion of the charging station and awarding of a vendor, and the second thing is discussion of the appointment of co-administrator and liaison. So,
Okay, I listed the discussion of the charging station because as part of the grant agreement that we need to return within 60 days, we need to supply who's going to be doing the work. So set aside whatever plan the council decides to do, whether it's a 3-plan or the 5-year plan. In the grant agreement, we do need to figure out who's going to be doing the work so we can send in the grant agreement.
Just to clarify, this is the actual installation work.
The installation.
so
Right.
the discussion was whether we have the company do it or we have our own DPW, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
That's all?
I think we
Well,
basically decided that we're going to have the company do it.
right, and I think that I had discussed this a little bit, and I don't have numbers yet, but I had given the plan to our CFO, who shared it with a representative from DECEM, and he feels that there's some adjustments that could be made or should be made, but I don't have those numbers yet. But it doesn't mean that we're not going to go with that vendor, because I think since they are a state-approved vendor, even if we have to make changes in the numbers, that they're not going to. And I also believe that if we put them down and we find out that it's not to our benefit because of the information we get back from this electrical engineer, that we can make those changes afterward without affecting the grant. That's my opinion.
When do they need for the grant, when do they need to have the vendor?
Probably within the next 30 days, because we passed the resolution in the past month.
Roberta, will you have that information before the next
I'm
meeting?
going to try. I've been trying to get it. I haven't heard back. But as I said, I really believe that since this vendor is approved by the state, I don't think there'll be an issue. If this gentleman that the CFO reached out to suggests somebody else, I think he just had information regarding the numbers. He didn't say anything about the vendor, just that he felt that the numbers could be worked out differently, but even Chuck might work them out differently. They were providing by the vendor to make what they were selling look a certain way, but I don't think that that's going to affect our grant in any way.
All right, well, we're not going to, this isn't by award or anything like that at this point. This would just be a yea or a nay. So for the time being, unless Roberta comes back with any kind of information that would rule these people out or that would require them to change the numbers and then say we can't do it based on that,
Right.
why don't we agree that this is going to be the vendor we're going to use until such time as they're disqualified or disqualify themselves? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't want to miss a deadline for the
Why not
grant.
do I, which is why, yeah, that's why I'm thinking we just roll with it until we can't roll with it. What do you guys think?
Agree.
Yeah? Okay. Discussion of the appointment of a co-administrator and liaison.
Well, I've been named that person for the moment, but at some point you may want to look at getting an outside administrator. Liaison, there's no reason why it can't be a local official. But as far as the administrator, I mean, right now, we don't have a lot going on, so there really isn't a lot. We don't have money. We don't have to worry about assigning the money to a site because we don't have any. Certainly, there's something that that could be done next year, or I believe even later. I mean, we named me just so we have a name, which we needed to. But as far as the work itself and what it's going to entail later on, once we start collecting money and the development fees, it'll be a different story. Right now, there's nothing to administer.
Okay. Is that something Patrick's firm does?
Yes. I mean, Patrick has suggestions of people
Yeah, he has suggestions, but I do.
who he's used, but
In Woodcliff Lake, I was a borough chairman in Woodcliff Lake, we had someone, the administrator also becomes a sort of conduit for those properties too, someone they can call when those properties come due,
Right.
so.
Okay, well, that's something when the time comes.
One that comes, one choice has come over.
My understanding of an administrator is relatively complex. I mean, you have to advertise, you have to vet the people,
Yeah.
and it also requires certification. Do you have that certification as an administrator?
no,
Do you have the certification training as a liaison?
yes.
Liaison
I did
basically-
that. I did both of them actually in Richfield.
But I do have those certifications, and I do know that, and I'm not looking to do it.
Please.
But I recognize that there is a liaison report our housing stock and report on general information that's available and they collect.
Right.
But an administrator does way more than that. And so
Absolutely. That's why I
that does
said
require somebody who's...
there are people, that's all they do, and we will need someone at this time. We have not taken the time to vet the people that were recommended, and frankly, you might have people that you want to recommend, but the point is, right now, there's nothing to administer. So, exactly. So we have time to... I just have one other thing under old business that I just want to bring up. The underground storage tanks, we've been working on them for about 8 years. We're at a certain stage.
Just for the public, by the DPW?
By the DPW. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to have the people who have been working on this to come in, frankly, for the new council and for some of you even who have been serving this year who have never heard from them before. So I want you to decide and let me know, do you want somebody to come in on the 17th?
No.
Or you'd rather they come in at a meeting in January when the new council is sitting, so that everybody... We're at a transition stage, kind of. They haven't changed the money, their original project. They're not asking for more money. It's just what they want to do now is a little change in the scope of the work. But they're not asking for more money. It's all within their original project. So I will let them know that we'll do it in January once the meeting schedule is...
Better served with...
I think so, but I wanted you to decide.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Could, going back to the grant for the charging stations, we actually passed that on October 22nd. So December 17th would be the last meeting that we could pass a resolution to approve the vendor.
That's what Barb and I had
But
told
again,
you.
we don't have to do that by resolution, right? Is that... I guess that was my question before. Do we have to...
You have to...
We have
Yeah.
to just approve the vendor by resolution, or just send them...
No, we have to...
You approve, you have to appoint them.
Oh.
Yeah.
But we don't have to set our pricing for
No.
the
And I really
charging
don't
station.
believe, as I said,
That's the
when you...
different
Right,
thing that we need to talk about later.
right.
We can approve them, you break it down in two parts. You approve them as your vendor, and then when it comes down to which way you guys want to go forward,
Right.
we can figure that out later.
And how we're going to pay for it.
Right.
Let's make sure we have
That's
that
still
on
my
the
biggest concern, is how we pay for it.
Should be all our concern, but...
You'll have
You
to...
first.
Right, pick a guy, and then we'll figure out what happens on the details on that.
All righty. Okay, that's the storage tanks. Anybody else have anything else under old business? Okay. Well, we do have a closed session.
Whereas the Open Publics Meeting Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231, permits the exclusion of the public from the meeting in certain circumstances. And whereas this public body is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, and whereas the governing body wishes to stop personnel and litigation, minutes will be kept, and once the matter involving the confidentiality of the above no longer requires the confidentiality, then the minutes can be made public. Now therefore be resolved that the public be excluded from this meeting, and be it further resolved that the mayor and council of the Borough of Maywood do not envision that they will return to open session after the closed session, but reserve the right to do so.
Motion to go to close?
Motion to go to close.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are in close. Thank you all for coming.